talk, I just want to make a brief statement in view of what's on in Nigeria with the abduction of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I had issued a statement earlier on that regards, but I just want to highlight a few more things, just hopefully within the next 30 minutes or thereabout. I hope you will just bear with me. I just want to get 1 or 2 persons allotted on this, but anyway, it will be watched later. Yes, we've been following what is happening with regards to that news. When it filtered out, we went on to investigate its source and finally discovered that he was abducted in Kenya because we know part of the world where we do operate, in as much as we've always accused Europeans of having done a lot in Africa, they still respect to a great extent the rule of law, and that is what we don't do in Africa. Unfortunately, we accuse them of doing things remotely, but those at the helm of affairs are still Africans. We say neo-colonialists, but the worst of Africans, the worst of Africans in the sense that there's conflict everywhere. Yes, part of our structures wouldn't enhance peaceful development, but if we decide to coexist peacefully, things can still go well. A whole country like Nigeria, there's no electricity, it's epileptic, and it looks as if it's a big deal. It is no big deal because most of these leaders, or if you cross the Rubicon, demarcating poverty and wealth, you can provide electricity for yourself by virtue of solar system or even generating sets. Now, to the crux of the matter, we've seen that we've followed the young man, the IPOB leader. His messages has resonated across the world, particularly in Nigeria. Nigerians are suffering. Nigerians are suffering, irrespective of the fact that we have great people from the country, but the British brought up a commercial entity called Nigeria and imposed a nomadic, murderous tribe called the Fulanese on the entire spectrum of the country. The Fulani has earlier emigrated, a handful of them emigrated from the Futajalon area of Guinea and came into, settled among the Hausas, and eventually deceived the Hausas and conquered them with the false excuse of spreading Islam. And from there, they tried to veer towards the south into the middle, but they were stopped until the British came, the fort, and the British defeated them. The British, seeing how the few Fulanese were ruthless, dominating the indigenes, decided to facilitate their getting power. And when they brought up their country called Nigeria by amalgamating the poor northern side with they reach southern parts, they created the mechanisms of power to favor the migrant minority. You can imagine. And that is a recipe for disaster. That is what is happening in Nigeria. And the Nigerians have suffered a lot in the hands of Fulanis. Some people might say there have been government before Buhari, because the Buhari presidency, his second time in 2015, now brought out their monstrous nature. They opened the borders in order to push out Goodluck Jonathan out of power. They made sure that the borders were open, letting in their kith and kin from neighboring countries, Mali, Chad, Niger, Cameroon, to come in. That is what they are. The Boko Haram you are talking about. They are the bandits, whatever you call them. There are about 7 terrorist organizations operating in the north. They are funded by governments, and that is why the Boko Haram issue cannot end. And this young man, Nnamdi Kanu, rose up, courageous, began sensitizing the entire people of Nigeria. Initially, his tactics, though he resonated, but there were many people that were against him because of the way he preached his message. It was fair. I met him when he came to the Republic of Ireland. I asked him a couple of questions. The interview is still on YouTube. It's the part 1, 2, 3. I saw the firebrand in him, and ever since then he has amassed followership, and he has shaken the pillars and the foundations of the country to its marrows, and that is what has made many Nigerians today beginning to ask fundamental questions that hitherto they don't ask before, and the international community have feigned ignorance of what is happening in Nigeria. Many who follow up the issue, the story of Nigeria, knew about the civil war. They call it the civil war. It was a war between Nigeria and the Republic of Biafra that existed between 1967 to 1970, and the British, the Russians, Arab countries who are involved, all of them were against Biafra, and Biafra was defeated, and Nigeria went on, and today you see what is Nigeria. So the abduction of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya, it's another question mark, a recurring decimal in the characteristics and attitude of Africans. What are his sins? His sins is that the Fulani should stop taking indigenous lands. That is it, because the northern borders are now open, that you see hordes of Fulanis coming in from neighboring countries. They say that their Allah has given Nigeria into their hands, that Nigeria will serve as a Fulani country. Buhari government has brought up policies that would facilitate them taking over Nigeria, and that's what this young man has been fighting. The policies came up in different forms. There was one they called Ruga. Nigeria has 36 states, mandating all governors to create enabling environments and giving out lands to Fulani settlers. And Fulani, the history of Nigeria has been violent. They are violent. They have no value for life. And Nigerian history, they are like leeches. When we say leeches, yeah, it sounds derogatory, but that is what it is, because they are all about squandering squandering the hard-earned Commonwealth of Nigeria. It was said by even Lugard during his time as a colonial, because these people, they are not interested in creating wealth. They're just interested in siphoning wealth. You know, a lot are happening in Nigeria. But what we intend to say is that the abduction of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, it's something that we're not going to take lightly. And if anything do happen to him, there will be reprisal attacks on Fulanese. And not only that, even among the Igbo elites that tend to have become subservient to the Fulani oligarchy, the way many in the north are now they've been emasculated. They're like servants to the Fulanese. They want to extend that. And the British system, which favored them, rigged elections, or even before independence, falsified the census counts, and at the end of the Civil War, they recreated the way the revenue derivation formula, falsifying a lot of things in order to favor the Fulanese. That is why Nigeria has refused to work on rule of law. They're talking about Nnamdi Kanu being repatriated into Nigeria to face justice. Unfortunately, the same justice they tend to talk about, they don't have respect for rule of law. This young man was in court, but soldiers invaded his place and attempted to kill him. And besides that, we've seen many in the system who are of Fulani stock. They flagrantly flout the law and order and go scot-free. Nothing happens to them. There's one Alhaji Abubakar Gumi, they call him a sheikh, in broad daylight, in the full glare of all, he goes to meet the terrorists and bandits. Even before cameras, we all watch that on screen, and it's crazy. Even the Nigerian security personnel follow him to the so-called, to the terrorists and the bandits. Yet, the government of Buhari keep spending billions, they keep allocating billions to themselves, saying they are fighting Boko Haram. International community gets in funds to fight terrorism. They share it among themselves, because if they are interested in ending terrorism in Nigeria, they know where they are. The terrorists are their brothers. We all know all these things. And this flagrant disobey of law and order and not serious in the acts of governance or in the process of developing Nigeria has now emboldened those who have sympathy for Biafra to begin to think of restoring the Republic of Biafra. And what they are asking is a referendum. From that, some of those interested in bringing in Oduduwa Republic in the southwest are up in protests. Those in the middle belt that have been suppressed over the years by the Fulanese are up, in as much as they may not have a voice, because nobody talks about them. They are being killed every day. If you go across middle belt, particularly Jos, Benue, skulls are hacked to death on a daily basis. It was all these things that made Nnamdi Kanu to energize the indigenous people of Biafra and formed the Eastern Security Network to stop the Fulanis, who have now spread out with their cows across the southern part of the country, particularly in the east, to flush them out of the forest. And you know what happened? They go into people's farmlands in the forest, camp there without even buying the land, build up their settlements, and use intimidation. When the women come into the farms, they rape them and hack them to death. There are pictures. Go online. These things are online. It's terrible. Nobody talks about them. We thank God that the social media now give us the opportunity to begin to talk about these things, because the big media, the BBC, which is controlled by the British authorities, doesn't air this. The CNN, which is an American owned company, they don't want to talk about this because the misery of Nigerians is not an issue. Every day, at least 100 people are killed in Nigeria. Nobody talks about it. But if 1 or 2 persons dies in the West here, there's all hula balu everywhere, protests everywhere. Are we not humans? This is why the likes of us set up Africa World newspaper to begin to champion the issues of Africans, the issues that resonate among our people, because if we don't do that, nobody's going to do it for us. Unfortunately, Africans keep selling themselves. They are interested in fighting and killing to sustain what the white man created. They knew that Nigeria would not work. The British authorities know that Nigeria is just an aberration. Nigeria is just a mere figment of our imagination. It can't work because these are great nations make up Nigeria. Great nations with great culture. You talk about the Hausas that have been emasculated by the Fulanis, the Igbos, the Edos, the Urobos, the Ichikiris, the Ejos, the Tiv. These are more than 300 nations brought together. Unfortunately, the British now took power, handed over power to a migrant sect that is murderous. What do you think about it? It's just like some of us that came from Africa coming into Europe, I mean in Switzerland or in England or even in Italy, and begin to run Italy. How will they do it? That's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. They're going to hack us to death. They're going to kill us. So this is what is happening in Nigeria. The Fulanis are not indigenous people. They are migrants. They came into Nigeria, and the British saw that they have a similar system to them, a system that recognizes slaves or servants and masters. They now handed them power. And you see the Hausas. The Hausas are their servants up to today. The Hausas doesn't have a voice. And that so they want to extend that form of culture across what is called Nigeria. Because in the south, in the southern part of it, in as much as they have a bit of the kingship subject kind of, it's different because in the south they are more educated. That is where the bulk of the resources lie. That's what is the problem in Nigeria. And this is what the young man, Nnamdi Kanu, has been talking about. He rose up and said, look, he cannot keep quiet where his people will be subjugated, where his people will be massacred on a daily basis, where the indigenous lands will be taken, and he will keep quiet. That is his sin, and that is his crime. And all hell has been let loose. As we are talking, hundreds have been put to death in the east. The Nigerian government have mobilized their soldiers, their security personnel, and they've been killing all able-bodied men in the east. Whereas in the north, they cannot tackle the issue of Boko Haram, and more. So it's terrible what is happening. We've seen the presidency of Buhari. They've been borrowing to stupor. They keep borrowing. They don't care. That is the Fulani attitude for you. They just want to borrow and borrow and borrow and share and squander. So why do we keep quiet? Because Nigeria is at the heart of African revival. If Nigeria gets it right, then Africa can begin to get it right. But unfortunately, this is the problem of Africa. Nigeria cannot get it right. That's because in every 5 or 6 Africans, 3 must be Nigerians. And Nigerians are individual, they are great people, but unfortunately, they have the wrong leadership. And that wrong leadership has given Nigeria a bad name. It looks like Nigeria cannot get. When you deal with a Nigerian on the individual basis, you see that, look, these people are great people, but unfortunately, they have the wrong leadership. And who are the leaders? The Fulanis. If the Fulanis are not in power, they are remotely controlling the power. And that is what the British have pre-planned for them, because Nigeria has enormous resources, but it's not controlled. As I talk to you, the country doesn't even have a way to regulate how many barrels of oil that they export. They just live their life without planning for tomorrow. A country that is swimming in the ocean of resources and wealth, they keep borrowing from those they are better off than. That is what the man Nnamdi Kanu has been fighting for. And that is his sins. And he said, look, enough is enough. The Republic of Biafra has to be restored in order to restore the dignity of man, because Nigeria has failed mankind. Nigeria has failed Africa. Nigeria has failed its citizens. In every part of the world, you see Nigerians everywhere. Many are dying on the Mediterranean Sea in order to come to Europe and be cleaning Oyibonyash and be sweeping the streets and doing menial jobs. That is what they want us to do. And this is what we say, look, enough of this. We are going to fight our battles. We are going to create awareness. We are going to sensitize our youth. There's no need coming abroad. We have to do it. Those of us that have come here and gotten the education and gotten the awareness, we must inspire our people to fight for our right. We cannot just keep quiet and we keep getting it wrong. At the turn of independence, I mean the paper independence that the colonial masters handed over to Africans, they didn't want those that got independence to lead well. They didn't want them to showcase what they know, because they know the likes of Kwame Nkrumah and his colleagues were removed of power. You saw what happened to Patrice Lumumba. Many of them were killed. Coups were sponsored. And you see, what we have today, you see, is a generation of those coup plotters. And many of them are changed from their garb from military rulership to democratic leaders. And those who followed the colonialists, I mean, what they wanted, they led them to be in power. That is what we want to change. And it is not a sin, because we are tired of leaving our shores. There's no place like home. We must get back home and get it right. That is what the sins of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But it's unfortunate that Africans keep betraying themselves. The new slave dealers who are in power, they don't obey the law, but they want us to obey the law. They can't fix few things. I mean, if Nigeria cannot get the electricity, that's it's just a little thing. It's not a rocket science. We can't have it in Nigeria. Prosperity cannot be shared. There's resources, but they keep borrowing. They lack the indices and panacea to our problems. That is why there must be a change. And this is why we must condemn the abduction of Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya. And if the Kenya authorities are privy to this abduction, we will get to that. We will make sure that we give them that bad image, because if we look at the OAU have not done anything to the constant massacre of Africans across countries. In Nigeria, like I said, every day in Nigeria, hundreds die. They're hacked to death from the deep north, northwest, northeast, middle belt, north central. In the southeast today, which is the theater of, well, you see the Nigerian army. They're now bombing civilian homes in the southeast, in a town called Olo, whereas Boko Haram and other ISWAP has now risen. They can't even bomb these people. And recently, Boko Haram and ISWAP marched together. They want to take over the Nigerian territory. These are the things Nnamdi Kanu is against, and that is his sins. To tell you that the Fulani has ulterior motive. They've always said it, that they want to dip the Quran in the Atlantic Ocean. That's a euphemism they use, that it was given to them by their ancestor, Osman Danfodio, who came from Futajalon and succeeded in deceiving the Hausa to take over the north, that they want to extend it up to the Atlantic Ocean in what we called the South-South in Nigeria, although there's nothing like South-South geographically, but they created it after the Civil War, or during the Civil War. They tried to balkanize the former Eastern region in order to make sure that there's no cohesion. There's no cohesion to enable people to resist in what they are planning to do. So it's important to remind those who doesn't know about the history of Nigeria that the Fulanis are lazy in the history of Nigeria. They are leeches. They don't want to work. They just want to keep reaping, keep borrowing in the name of Nigeria. This is a country that has enormous resources, but nothing happens. So we'll keep bringing you all the figures and facts on the abduction of the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya. And we want to inform the Nigerian government that if anything happens to him, we will not take it like, we will mobilize across for whatever happens, whatever that is extreme to happen, because he's a Pan-African. What he's doing is important. He has spoken truth to power, and this is very rare in that part of Africa, where skulls are killed every day. Nobody talks about it. In the Middle Belt, families are hacked to death across the country, especially in the south. Many run away from the country in order to have a good life. They are beneath their soil. There's enormous resources, but nothing goes back to them. So thank you for listening to me. It's a sad story, but it is not, because things like this form. It forms the springboard for greater things. It's a catalyst to what is going to happen in the Republic of Ireland, where we established Africa World. In 1916, there's what they call the Easter Rising. It happened in this country. If you know the history of the Republic of Ireland, they were under the British Empire before them. But a group of courageous young men took the bull by the horn and decided to take on the might of the British Empire. It was a terrible thing for them then. Even their kids and their friends, their brothers and sisters, those who were licking from the leftovers of the British Empire, were laughing at them. They were mocked when the rebellion collapsed. If you check out the history, they seized the place called the GPO and some of the government buildings. But it was quelled down. They were executed. But after that, it formed the springboard to what we call today the Republic of Ireland. And this Republic of Ireland, that's what many people come today to enjoy. Many Nigerians are in this country. They are having a good life, getting the welfare, enjoying the welfare system of the government. I mean, people fought for this. So nobody is going to fight for yours. You have to take the bull by the horn. And that is what we are doing. We cannot be sitting on gold mine then in poverty and wretched penury. That is a cause. Be talking. The Republic of Ireland has no oil. They have no gold. They have no copper or coal, enormous resources. This is a country of about 6 million or thereabouts. But if you come into this country and get yourself in, you will be taken care of. This is what those who call themselves Nigerians have to do. They must take the bull by the horn. They must solve their problem. There's no need running away from the country. We must confront the Fulanese. They cannot take over your land unless you want them to take over your land. I mean, anyone who cannot obey the law or abide by the rule of law is calling for anarchy. And there's no need going to take risk traveling on the Mediterranean Sea or finding the shortest cut to come and do odd jobs and hew woods or draw waters. We must find a way to solve our problem. So in this abduction of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, it is a clarion call for Africans, Pan-Africans, who are interested in fixing the continent. Nobody can do it for us. We will do it on our own. The West cannot do it for you, in as much as we accuse the West of. But majority of them want us to have better life. It's a few of them. But that's normal with life. They are fighting for their survival. Survival. I mean, we want to belong to the global community. So we have to fight for our survival. If you don't fight for your survival, nobody is going to do that on your behalf. So thank you for listening to me, and keep following what you are doing at Africa World. It's www.africaworldnewspaper.com, or follow all other websites. We've just opened up a new online TV at www.oyokanjatv.com. You can still check some other websites. We do our publications. We have a weekly newspaper, Africa World newspaper. You can access it on ESO or on Facebook, or just type on Africa World newspaper on any social media platform, despite the fact that some of them have blacklisted us because of the our condensed message. We will keep fighting until Africa is totally free. I mean, not free on the paper independence, but free economically and free from the clutches of those who doesn't really want us to be free. Thank you for listening to me. I'm Okachukwu Okori, Editor-in-Chief, Africa World Newspaper.